Hey, welcome everybody. On today's show, we have Todd, who has visited Colombia again, and we thought we would follow up and see how Todd is doing down there. Stick around. Okay, Todd, thank you for coming back on my channel. I appreciate that. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm in Cartagena right now, and spent the day out on the ocean, and went to multiple beaches and had a great day.
So the last time we talked to you, you had went to Colombia for your very first time. Is that correct? Medellin?
Yes, last time I spent about 10 days in Medellin only. So this time I spent about 15 days in Medellin and about 5 nights in Cartagena.
Awesome. And how much longer do you plan on staying in Colombia?
I'm leaving tomorrow to head back to Medellin for about 2 days, and then I fly back to the United States.
Okay. And do you have a third trip planned since nothing seems to be opening in Asia, or what kind of a vacation destination do you think you would head to next? Or where do you think you would head to?
I would come back here. I've enjoyed it. I've had a good time. It's an open country. I mean, they do have some limitations over New Year's, for instance, in Medellin. They had a curfew at about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock for a couple of days.
Okay.
Going into the malls, they had odd and even days depending on which ID number was your last number on your driver's license. So they wouldn't let you into certain stores if you didn't have an odd or an even day. But all in all, yeah, I would come back.
How did that affect you as a foreigner, like trying to go into the mall since you don't have a regular ID?
I used my Colorado driver's license. I left my
Okay.
passport in my room. I didn't take it out with me, and I just showed them the digit. And ironically, I have a second driver's license that had one had an odd, one had an even number. So I was pretty set regardless.
There you go. Okay, so you went back to Medellin, and did you do anything different, or did you stay at a different place?
Yeah. I did a lot of things different. Last time I stayed in El Poblado the whole time, and at a hotel. This time I stayed with friends in Envigado, which is just next door to the area of El Poblado. It's about a 10 or 15-minute Uber ride. And stayed in an apartment. It was a 3-bedroom apartment in a nice area with security, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful apartment, and it was about $600 a month for 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and like I said, it had all the amenities that you'd expect.
Yeah, fantastic. And then you went to Cartagena this time for, you said, 5 days you've been there?
Yeah. I stayed at a hotel in Boca Grande area, which is the main beach. It's not a pretty beach. It's, as far as the color of the water, it's kind of like the Philippines, where you have to take a boat to get to the beautiful beaches and stuff like that.
Okay.
But clearly, I sent you some pictures of some nice water today and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we'll put those up on the screen while we're talking here. And a lot of good food. Some people have told me that Colombian food is kind of bland as far as compared to the rest of South America and like Mexico and places like that. What's your opinion on Colombian food?
I think it is a little bit more bland for our tastes. They don't put a lot of spices on it, but you can always get, some hot sauce. They eat a food called an arepa, which is kind of like a cornmeal tortilla that's, to me, if you don't cook it, it's really, really bland. And I think most people eat it up a little bit. But the meats are really good. The fruits are good. And, I would say you can always get a good meal, but the flavors are held back or reserved a little bit.
Okay. So what other things what kind of activities did you do while you're there in Colombia?
A couple of nights, I went to a neighborhood called Sabaneta, which is a big park where you could see the Christmas lights. And in a lot of ways, heading up to Christmas and the days after Christmas, the parks all had lots of lights and candles, people playing music. The churches were open and people were selling food and drinks on the street. It just was really almost reminded me of some of the European Christmas markets, except without the cold.
Wow. And have you made quite a few friends now? Well, you said you stayed with friends. Have you met them? Did you meet?
I met them last time briefly.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some nice people, and that's really part of getting into this area. If you're going to make the transition, or if you're thinking about you want to try it here, get into a network of friends. They know the way around. They know where to take you, and there's lots of nice places to go. And like I said last time, the infrastructure is great. Everybody takes credit cards, and you don't have problems with the usual stuff that sometimes you might have elsewhere in Asia.
So like in the Philippines, you go to a coffee shop or you go to some little restaurants. It's very typical that you hear out of stock, or they don't have Wi-Fi, but and they don't take a credit card. But in Colombia, is that kind of the opposite? Do they have Wi-Fi at most places, and do they take credit? They take credit cards.
Yeah.
And
the malls all have free Wi-Fi. They all take credit cards, even for something that would be like $2. They'll take a credit card, which it always amazed me when you go into a 7-Eleven in the Philippines, you can't use a credit card.
Right.
I mean, it's like, yeah, it just makes no sense. But here, all the restaurants, they bring the machine to the table like they do in most foreign countries, except the United States. They take it at the beach. I was at a beach today that was pretty remote island, and I was running low on Colombian pesos, and they came by and asked me if I wanted something to drink and stuff. I said, look, I only brought enough for the day, and I didn't bring enough money. Oh, we'll take a credit card right out of the beach.
Wow. Yeah, that certainly doesn't happen in the Philippines. In fact,
No.
the gas stations kind of remind me of when I was a small kid. Everything was full service when I was a kid. You couldn't pump your own gas, right? And now in the United States, everything is credit card. But in the Philippines, it's almost like you step back into the 50s and 60s. It's like stuck in time.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And, Uber is so easy and so cheap. It's $1 to $3 a fare, depending on how far you're going to go. It almost makes sense not to have a vehicle if you did decide to settle here or spend some time here. Maybe a motor scooter or something, but it's just so easy to get around. And they've got some knockoffs like Grab, some other names of app-based transportation as well.
Is that a popular mode of transportation, like scooters? It is in Asia, really big.
It's
what about there?
Not as common as it is in the Philippines. You don't see as much. People have cars, and as I spoke last time, there's definitely a middle class here. You have Colombian people who have money enough to go for a nice dinner every once in a while. Yeah, you do have the usual, extremely wealthy people, and you also have some poor people that you see around and stuff. But there is definitely a culture of a third class, a middle class that you don't see in the Philippines so often.
Absolutely. Do you have any plans for your? Is this your last day? You said you leave tomorrow, or you have tomorrow's your last day?
This is my last night in Cartagena. I'll probably go out. I definitely would recommend the old walled city. It's over 500 years old, and it's where the Spaniards set up fort. And there's a lot of history there. It's fun to walk through there. There's also a couple other neighborhoods that are off the beaten path that are very trendy with nice restaurants and things like that. So I'll probably get something good to eat tonight, my last dinner, and I head back to Medellin for like 2 days before my flight back to the United States, as I see.
Now that you've spent a little time in Medellin and Cartagena, which city do you like best? Or they're really
Medellin.
just Medellin? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Cartagena, I think everybody would like it for a long weekend, but I don't think when you compare them both, the creature comforts and the things that you have in Medellin aren't here. And also, it's a little bit more expensive here in Cartagena. The restaurants are a little bit more, and I just feel like you're at a beach community, and there's a little bit more traffic at different times during the day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a 1 hour flight from Medellin to Cartagena. It was $175 round trip. So it's inexpensive in that regard.
Sure.
But I do think with all the neighborhoods, the altitude, the climate, I think Medellin's the place to really call home. And then you could go to Cali, you could go to also probably some of the other areas, maybe over on the Pacific as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a big draw for Colombia, or a couple of selling points, is that you can still work a remote job, that you have in the United States in Colombia, because the time zone is similar, and it's a pretty inexpensive and not such a long flight back home if you need to get back home. And that's one thing to consider, I suppose, if you want to live out in Asia. You're not just coming home in a couple hours here. You're looking at a day and a half of travel and an expensive ticket and opposite time zones. So that is something to consider for sure for a lot of people.
I think so. I think it is. And you always have to be careful too. As far as traveling internationally, and a lot of your viewers are, I'm 54, and they're probably I don't know what the mean age is for your viewers, but as you get on in age, you want to have good health care, and you want to have that security. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So I know we mentioned it earlier, but do you how soon before you take another trip someplace, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I've been watching a little bit of the news on the Philippines, and I mean, I see that there's 21 countries on the do not enter list, and
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, clearly, we hear about the vaccinations; they're not rolling out as fast as what we would expected. I think most Americans probably, hopefully, will be vaccinated by June if they want to be. But what is it going to take? Is it going to take a passport vaccination record? Is it going to take what's the trigger that's going to open the Philippines up? And I don't have that answer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's funny, when this whole thing started in March last year, I thought to myself, oh, this is just going to last a few weeks or a couple of months at the most. And then here we are in 2021, still going strong. In fact, and no indication of it really letting up or anytime soon, or borders opening up anytime soon. So, yeah. And for a lot of people that are in the Philippines, most people are probably on a tourist visa, and those you can only stay up to 3 years, and you have to leave. So I think a lot of people are slowly going to be having to leave here. But in Colombia, can you talk about the visa situation? How does the visa situation? Is it 6 months you get, or a year, or I can't remember?
Yeah, 6 months. I met a gentleman actually in the apartment complex, and I talked to him a little bit. He's from Los Angeles, but grew up part of his life in Colombia, and he has an American passport. but he said he's on 6 months and he can renew, and he's trying to start a business, but you know, he wants to open a barber shop, ironically. And he needs help from a Colombian woman to help him with that. He will struggle to try to open his business himself, he said. So it's definitely possible. I don't know how viable his venture will be, but he talked about it a little bit and said that, you know, he can renew his visa. And, you know, if you have the same girlfriend, they have what's called a common law marriage in Colombia, wherein, you know, after about 2 years, they will give you probably a long-term visa.
Okay. And I definitely appreciate your time, Todd. And if you get back down to Colombia or elsewhere, keep in touch, let me know, and we'll follow up with you.
Well, thank you. You know, I do want to get back to the Philippines, but I am stumped. I have no answers, and nobody does. And but if anybody's really looking to get away, I definitely would recommend a trip to Medellin and a side trip to Cartagena. They'll get their flavor of some warm weather, some nice water, some good fish, and maybe it'll fill that gap until the craziness ends. I don't know, but anyway, thank you, and appreciate your time.
Hey, appreciate it, Todd. Take care.